So we talked a lot about how non-native English speakers learn the language and how sometimes, well, obviously it's helpful, they know the words, but unfortunately, like anything else that humans do, it gets changed, it turns around, we turn it upside down, good is bad, bad is good, all these sort of things. And in this lecture, we want to talk about some of the different conventions that you'll find in English, or some of the different concepts that we have. And as a native, fluent English speaker, when I come across some of these different conventions, I just like, it makes me sort of stop, and I'm just like, what are they? Did they make a mistake? They must have made a mistake. They couldn't have meant to do it this way. And of course, they did mean to do it this way. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this lecture.
Yeah, I mean, we start off with some of the ones that you probably come across most often is dates and numbers. So, for example, you would get 1,000.
Yeah, that's easy. It's 1, comma 000. 1,000.
But in lots of countries, it's 1 period or full stop 000. They use a full stop. Yes. So
really,
yeah,
that would drive me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that because there's 3 decimal points. You think, oh, God, that's strange. They've got a 1 with 3 decimal points. You know, why is that? Because usually we'd use 2 decimal points.
That's right. The dollar is a 1 with a full stop 00. They put another 1 on the end. Oh, that's really weird.
So that's 1,000. So they would use, instead of where we use a comma, they would use a full stop or a period, or whatever we call it.
The other one that I have a trouble with is dates. You know, is it month, date, year, year, date, month,
yes.
date, month, year? Like, and of course, the only way I know is I look through the dates till I find in the first or the second one a number over 12. And then I know that's the date. Sometimes, like if it's 04, 11, 2000 and whatever, half the time I'm like, is that November 4th or is that April 11th? I don't know. And I really don't know.
This is interesting because you do actually get a lot of people who think, well, everybody knows that. So if you're an American businessman or a British businessman or a Canadian businessman or woman, you go to another country and you think, well, I know this, everybody knows this. And then you'll find that somebody's just sent an invoice, which is, 5 months down the line or something.
Yes.
Because they got the date mixed up. Because it does happen. Because however much you might think that everybody knows this, it's universal. It's not universal. You know that because of your culture, because of your education, because of the business you've been working in. But a lot of people who haven't had the same opportunities that you have doesn't know this. So you have to be very careful. You have to make sure that people are aware of these differences. It might seem very basic, but it can save a lot of time and money.
Yeah.
And one more question for you. Here's another quiz for you. Okay. How many fingers?
5.
5, you say?
Yes, even though you're only showing me 4 and you hid your thumb.
But
I would say
that's... thumb. So you call it, would you say 4 fingers and 1 thumb, or would you say 5 fingers?
5 fingers.
5 fingers. Okay, because generally speaking, we think in 4 fingers and 1 thumb.
Who's we?
In England, we say we have 4 fingers and 1 thumb.
Just checking.
Okay. But then again, maybe that's changed since I was growing up. When I was growing up, it was 4 fingers and a thumb. Maybe now it's actually 5 fingers. But then you have this concept, we have toes on our feet. But in a lot of cultures, you have 5 fingers here and 5 fingers here. And on your feet, you have foot fingers. So you have 20 fingers because you have 10 here and 10 on your feet. But of course, we have the concept of toes. So again, when you talk to foreigners and say, what do you call those on your feet? Fingers. No, they're called toes. What? What are toes? So again, this idea of different things. Plus also, I talked before about animals, how English or American or Canadian or Australian dogs say woof woof or bow wow.
Who knew they spoke differently in other countries, different languages?
Yes. Well, they say how in Brazil. And also roosters are very interesting because we say cock-a-doodle-doo.
Yes, cock-a-doodle-doo. That's a rooster.
Yep. And in Japan, they say Ko-kyoko.
How did they teach the roosters Japanese? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. But again, it's about how you filter things. Through the Japanese language, that's what they hear the rooster saying. Through the English language, we hear them saying cock-a-doodle-doo, but in Japan, the Japanese filter produces a different sound to their ears.
Right. You know, when you were talking about conventions, you reminded me of when I took judo. In my younger teenage years, I took this judo class, and you would stand sort of at attention, and then you would bow. And we didn't know, like, we would just, he just said stand, bow, and then, beat each other up. So we would do this, and after a little while, he stopped us, right? And, like there'd be a number of practice bouts or whatever, and we would be doing this bowing. And what we didn't know is we would cross our hands in front of us and bow. And he said, in Japan, women cross their hands in front of them and bow. Men put their hands at their side and bow. So you can decide if you're a boy or a girl. And it was like none of the guys ever did that again, right? But we didn't know. Like, it was just, a bow. Okay, all right, I'll just put my hands together and bow. I was like, no, you put your hands down your side and then you bow that way. And so he didn't think that he had to teach us that until he realized that all of his class was bowing like the girls should bow and not as the boys should bow.
Like I said to you before about ouch in Japanese.
Yes.
Ladies shouldn't say ite, they should say ita. Because if you're a lady and you say ite, then you're a little bit rough, you're not a lady. Yeah.
Right.
It's a very interesting thing. But it's a big rabbit hole.
It is. And part of this course is helping you to stay out of the rabbit hole. And in our next lecture, we're going to talk about one of our favorite topics, and that's borrowed words and different pronunciation rules. And I love that because I pronounce my name wrong. And we'll get into that. We'll get into that next.